Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop. All the news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's the host.
Hi folks, Cesar here. It's Monday night, back in Studio C. Good to be with you. It's election time here in Virginia. Well, as every year, but we're getting close. With me tonight, I've got a special show with my dear friend, Pradip Dhakal. He is currently a member of the Herndon Town Council, and he is running for mayor. He's one of the candidates. We'll extend the invitation to his opponent, Mr. LeBlanc, once he cleans up that mess with the Fairfax County Democratic Committee. Full disclosure, I have donated to Mr. Dhakal's campaign for a number of reasons that you'll see. He is an amazing person. He has my full support. I wanted to disclose that up front. But tonight, we're not here as friends. He's here as a guest. I'm the host. So, Mr. Dhakal, thank you for joining us, sir.
Pleasure being here. Thanks for having me here, Cesar.
Absolutely. Listen, I think I want people to know you. So I figured in this first section, we want to talk a little bit about you. I know your story. I love it. I love you, your family. But give people an understanding of who you are, how you came to the U.S., just your background, your family story.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm from Nepal, originally from Nepal. I came here as a student to do my master's. So I came in 2006 in a student visa, and then I did my master's here. Then I started working, and then I met a beautiful girl here in Herndon who graduated from Herndon, Sushma. And then we got married. My whole family, especially on my in-law side, was in Herndon already. My sister-in-law, brother-in-law, they all Herndon High School graduates. So that's how I ended up settling in Herndon. And the moment I came to Herndon, I realized how beautiful that town is, the small town vibe, very diverse, very welcoming, So I thought, this will be my house. And that's home. That's how we started living there. Now we have a beautiful family. We have 3 kids, 8-year-old boy, 6-year-old boy, and 2-year-old girl. And my mom also lives with us, which is a bonus, which is good. We always love that. Being from Asia, we are joint family.
Of course.
So yeah, that's how I ended up coming here. And then, I love the community, the spirit, and that's what actually attracted me to Herndon, and kind of like attracted me to stay there in Herndon.
Did you ever see yourself as a little kid coming to America? Was that ever part of the plan?
No, that was never a plan. That was never a plan. When I was a kid, I was in a very rural area of Nepal, so I was studying, doing our household work and farming, doing all those sort of things. So never even thought that I would go to even Kathmandu, the capital of Nepal, let alone America, right? So yeah, if I have to give you my background, I think I was 18 years old when I first saw a computer.
Wow.
And that's how it is. I'm from a very, very remote area of Nepal with no transportation, electricity. When I was, studying in my high school, I used to use a lamp with the gas, like the kerosene gas, right? So that's how I was brought up. So America was a dream too far for me. So I've never thought of, coming to U.S. at that age.
So growing up, you literally burned the midnight oil to study.
I did, actually. I did.
So now you're in IT?
I'm in IT, yes. I am in IT, so IT not on a technical side, more on a management side. So I work as a project manager, program manager, managing different programs from the information technology perspective. So I've supported federal government like Health and Human Services. I've supported IRS, and I've supported many different, corporations around Northern Virginia, like Freddie Mac, Capital One, Navy Federal Credit Union are some of those companies that I've worked for.
So it sounds like you're involved in transformational positions, because those sound like organizations and entities that needed to move forward.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been part of that. I've been part of that change, from moving to cloud-based, information, digitization, moving from a very plan-based waterfall method of, working environment to more agile, adaptive, way of working, which is completely different, right? You always talk about MVP, design a minimum viable product, and then based on the feedback, based on how it works, you can always build on that iteratively, right? So I'm the coach on that. I coach people on those way of agile way of working, and especially designing small, and then always adding more details later based on the feedback you receive. So I've helped many organizations with that agile transformation as well.
So change, it's iterative, but it can be very impactful.
Yeah.
For those in IT, it's the natural order of things, right? Change.
It's very natural order of thing. It's iterative, it's incremental, and it's expected. Because you don't change, you die, right? That's how it is. The organization take. Think about Blockbuster, right? It was the giant, but when Netflix came, Netflix was probably a David in front of Goliath, right? But what happened is it always changed. I mean, it brought all the changes, it accepted all the changes when it comes to Netflix, but when it comes to Blockbuster, they wanted to preserve the status quo, and that's the reason why you don't see Blockbuster today. There are so many examples, right? Big companies. Where is Kodak today, right? So it's all about accepting and embracing change and moving with the time.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I think it was Jack Welch that said it's not the biggest, richest, or the one that has the most resources from corporations. It's the ones that can adapt to the change.
Exactly.
Quickest, right? So, and I bring that up because it's crucial in you're in the tech kind of world, but now you've ventured into the political world. And you mentioned status quo. That's just how it is in most forms of government, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's always difficult when it comes to government because I've been part of local government, and I can also tell you, being a consultant to federal government, I've seen, change is not easy there. There are, obviously the status quo is the biggest thing, and then, bureaucracy and so many things are there. You just constantly have to keep pushing in order to break those barriers and accept more change. And that's what I do for federal government. That's what I do for many different corporations within the Northern Virginia. And that's what we're doing in the town of Herndon as well.
And I think that's, I wanted to make sure people understood your background, because too many people make assumptions about what IT is. IT isn't just development.
It's not. I'm not even in the development side. IT is what drives everything. IT drives business, because business cannot make the outreach without the help of IT. So IT is the core and heart of all those businesses. All those businesses we named earlier, right? They survive and they prosper in this competing, very competitive age is because they adopted IT. They know IT is a way to expand their business, reach out to more people, and all sort of things. So.
Yeah, and you mentioned, IT by default is constantly changing.
It's constantly
how long
changing.
have you been in the industry?
Industry, it's been about 12 plus years at this time, yeah.
And what was the phone like 12 years ago, right? What was the iPad or PC 12 years ago?
Everything is changing.
The software, I mean, just the amount of data that's on these devices now. So it changes technology, but also the behavior.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Look, Cesar, the bottom line is we have to be willing to change, we have to be adaptive, and we have to always find a way to improve, whether it's providing services, delivery of services, taking care of people, everything you have to constantly adapt. I can talk about changes all night, but I'm sure we don't have that much time, right?
No, but I think it's important for people to understand your background. You are highly qualified, professional, strategic. You have the visions. You've proven that in the business world. you've proven it on council as well. So that was basically what I wanted to make sure. Anything stick out in your either education or business career that you can point to? Hey, this was something I learned that I wasn't expecting, or this was something that came in. Anything stand out? Anything major career?
Not really. I mean, my career, my everything has always been changing. I'm not in one thing. I'll give you an example. When I was in my high school, obviously my parents wanted me to be a doctor.
Oh, okay.
A medical doctor,
Sure.
right?
Okay.
But I was more into math and physics, right? So that was my passion.
Okay.
So I did not become a doctor. And then when I went to my bachelor's degree, I was again into like biology and, you know, environmental science and microbiology. So I actually graduated with the microbiology degree, focusing on environmental science, sustainability, agriculture microbiology, food microbiology, and medical microbiology. That was my major. And then when I came to US, and again, I started learning about the leadership, because I realized leadership is everywhere, right? And then how can I learn leadership on a college setting, right? So I did my master's in strategic leadership, and I was wondering all these different lessons, the books I've read, where can I use it? And now I realize whether it's my professional career, whether it's a town council that I'm serving, whether it's the community that, you know, we engage and we lead and we help, leadership is everywhere. It's about result, it's about bringing change, it's about serving people, right? So my master's degree, it was funny that I was thinking, everybody was asking, you're doing strategic leadership, where is it applied, right? What kind of job do you get? And now I realize wherever I go, I can actually apply some of those, you know, skills that I learned. So that's something I wanted to.
Yeah, I think, and you've shown it many times. It's leaders inspire, and then they empower the people, right? It's never about controlling or managing or dictating or delegating. It's being able to inspire them with a vision someplace else, or a vision of something better. Right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I can relate that with the town council business as well. You may not be master of everything. However, your job is to connect with people.
Nice.
Right?
We'll, folks, we'll come back with Mr. Dhakal. After this, we'll talk about why he got into this realm.
It's a beautiful day out here. Sunny today with light breezes, giving way to clouds in the afternoon. We could see some light precipitation to moderate precipitation later on, followed by powerful storm-like conditions. 90 miles per hour winds are expected. Authorities are asking everyone, stay indoors. Come on, that's it. Let's go.
Grandpa, look what I got. Let me see.
Oh, Dad, wait till you see the bike we got for Jake.
Hearing loss happens gradually with age, making it easy to ignore. Yet most older Americans aren't getting their hearing tested. Untreated hearing loss can keep your loved ones from enjoying what they cherish most.
Dad, can you hear me?
Don't let that happen. Speak up about hearing loss. You'll be glad you did.
You can't buy a best friend. You can love them, pet them, care for them, whether they want you to or not. You can take a picture, you can jump, yell, you can fly to the moon, travel the world, or just stay in bed. You can't buy a best friend like that, but you can adopt one. 'Cause we're connected.
Cook foods to the right temperature using a food thermometer. 3,000 Americans will die from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Hi folks, Cesar here, back in Studio C. Thank you for coming back. I have a very special guest tonight, my friend, colleague, Mr. Pradip Dhakal, current council member and candidate for mayor in the town of Herndon. Sir, thanks again. We were talking about leadership. So let's finish that piece off.
Sure. I mean, I was talking about leadership. Leadership is everywhere, right? And being in a leadership position does not mean that you know everything or you're a master of everything, but it's about finding people, inspiring a vision, right? And then enlisting others in that vision and getting the things done.
Yep.
So that's what exactly is leadership all about. For example, if you talk about Steve Jobs, he may not have coded everything, right? But he had a vision. He was able to inspire other people to his vision, and then he was able to execute his plan, right?
Yeah.
It's all about bringing people to your vision and making a common vision.
Yeah, surrounding yourself with
Absolutely.
great quality people. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about why you got into this arena. Politics is politics. So what compelled you? Why did you get into? What made you run for?
Well, this is funny story. Actually, I was not planning. This actually happened. So you know, obviously my family, my in-laws were already in Herndon, and we were getting involved in Herndon, you know, activities and all of those things. We participated in few events in Herndon, and we realized that, hey, you know, we need somebody who can bring some perspective there, right? Who can bring that element of diversity there. And then we also saw some issues. You see that as well. And obviously, what do? You call, you complain, right? You be on that side. And I was thinking, I consider myself always a problem solver. That's my, probably that's how I'm built. And I realized, you know what? I want to be in a position where I can actually solve the problem that I'm seeing. So let me try this one. Even though I'm not a career politician, you know, I do not have aspirations or anything, but I thought, you know, this is community work. We are working in the community and we can do good, and obviously we need better representation. That way we can bring the diversity of ideas and we can bring policies and everything that caters to everybody, right? You need to have people from different walks of life. And I was different. So I thought maybe this is the right time to contribute, right? So that was the desire, that was the push, and obviously family supported that, and obviously the whole community, Herndon community, supported that. Met it in the first time, 2018. I do remember running with you at that time, right? Or maybe against you at that time, right? But yeah,
maybe.
So yeah, that's how it started.
What was there a specific issue? Was there a specific problem? Do you recall what were some of the things that you wanted to address?
First thing is the way Herndon is, right? It's a very diverse community. Yeah. And when I saw the council, the leadership, that diversity was not completely reflected, right? So if you have the diversity in your demographics, you have to have the representation as well, right? To make sure every voice is heard. That was completely lacking at that time. We were maybe getting ready in a good way, but we were not there. That was the first thing. Second thing, again, when you are making policies, right, when you are bringing services, if you do not have a voice there, then obviously, you know, you may not get all the services or everything that you can deserve, right?
They're not addressed.
So you always need a voice there. So I was just going there to become a different voice, bringing different perspective, and that way, when we create policies and services and laws for the town, that becomes, you know, more inclusive, right? So that was the desire first.
Do you think you achieved that?
In
that first term?
Yeah, I think we are in a good position because I was the one who actually advocated for the multicultural board, and that's how we actually you know, ended up adopting Herndon Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee, and which I chair now, which is a wonderful group of people from diverse background, bringing lots of ideas, and you know, we've already brought a lot of ideas. We're working on it. We are advising council as well, so that was a great achievement.
Yeah, and on that one thing, just interrupt. So, for the people out there that don't no, this had never been done before in the town.
No, absolutely.
So the concept of
there was no the diversity or multicultural board that really brings people from diverse background who could actually influence and advise in policy making before. So that's what we did. And now the same Herndon Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee is working to bring a policy around that advises the council to, how we can be more inclusive, how we can create more sense of belonging within the community. One that mirrors one Fairfax policy right now. So we're working on that as well.
Yeah, and that's important. It's important for people to know that Herndon is 65% roughly majority minority community. So it's important that those voices and those desires be reflected in town policy.
Absolutely. Yep.
So no, kudos to you. One of the other things I think you've also supported and worked on and drove and championed was this whole thing about transforming it to more strategic thinking, strategic planning. Talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely. So when I joined council, I realized that most of the work were more like an operational work. Meaning, housekeeping work, something had changed in the state, so we have to, probably adopt our ordinances or our charter and so many things. But what was lacking there, I realized, is we're public facing. We directly interact with people. We meet people every day. We knock doors, right? We go and pick up coffee, and we chat out with our neighbors, and we go to grocery store and meet other person, right? Talk about the town and how you like it. So we get to hear the concerns, the proposed solution as well, because I am the person who thinks there are smarter people out there than me. But my job is to listen to them. So whether it's concern, whether it's proposed solutions, we listen to them. And how do you feed them into town's business is bring that as a intake request funnel or a strategic request funnel.
That's where it comes in.
Yeah, exactly. And then discuss that on a high level. Think about the impacts, financial impacts, how that can be funded, and what's the benefits and all of those things, right? You have to do the cost benefit analysis. You have to give some priority, and based on that, those actually end up whether in our CIP or in our budgetary item and gets implemented. If you're not bringing anything that you're seeing in the community, then obviously you're not doing your job, right? So there was no proper mechanism to bring those ideas other than just having a discussion and doing nothing. So that's the reason why I heavily supported that strategic initiative, because I come from corporate world. We do have quarterly strategic planning sessions, right? That's how the ideas come. That's how the ideas, get elaborated a little further, and that's how we execute the plan. So obviously, being local government, we can do the same thing.
And it's more reactive, right? You can react to the requests of citizens sooner, quicker than at the federal level. Things take a lot of time, and it's really more of an impact too, right? It's I need a sidewalk here, or I need trees there, or we want this structure approved.
So basically, if somebody says I need a sidewalk here, or I need ADA compliant sidewalk here, that could be easily an operational work or a small part of CIP. But what that gives you is an idea. Let's do assessment of the whole trails and bike path and the sidewalks in the town. How much do we have? How many do we have? Are those in good condition? Are those ADA compliant? Is it wheelchair accessible? You can look into that, and that becomes a project in itself.
And that's proactive versus we'll get to it if it's an issue over time.
Absolutely. You have to be proactive because population is changing, demographics is changing, the need is changing. If you're not proactive, think about the example I gave you earlier about Kodak or Blockbuster.
No, that's why I love your corporate background, because I always use the analogy, RCA Television was a big old school television manufacturer, but they kept their institutional model technology and infrastructure. They never adapted to LCD or plasma screens, and they're gone, right? So if you're not changing, growing, you're dying. So kudos.
Yeah, absolutely.
In terms of, before we go to break here, you've been on council now, how many terms now?
So I'm serving my third term.
Okay. What's the biggest thing you learned during these past few terms, or the biggest thing that surprised you going in, or something that you didn't expect?
Well, many things, but I think, we are really behind when it comes to providing services, when it comes to our infrastructure being in a good shape and condition. That's because I believe we haven't proactively planned and approached. And one of my biggest surprise is, since, again, I'm not blaming the past council because they did whatever was available in their time, right? But not having a good planning ahead is really putting us into financial trouble as well. You know about the water bills, you know about the sewer bill. Those were not increased incrementally. They were kept flat. Everybody was happy, but what we did not realize is now it's going to be a big burden for the current residents and the future residents, right? All these capital improvement projects, capital improvement things, all of those have to be proactively planned and incrementally done. Yes, you can do nothing, keep the taxes really low, make everybody happy, but you have to realize that in 5 years and 10 years, when you have more demand for services, then obviously you will be in a financial difficult situation. And I feel like that's something we could have done better in the past.
It's interesting you say that because that was sort of like the realization, like the epiphany. Wow, you can't run this like you do, like people run their HOAs. The HOAs is keep my dues low, keep my dues low. And if something breaks, then we'll figure it out. But you can't do that at a town level.
Absolutely. I'm not saying, the taxes has to be raised or anything. We have to find a way to increase our tax base, right? Not that way you don't have to rely on the property taxes only. So there is a way we can talk about that.
So, and that's what I want to talk about when we come back, sort of like your future vision, your future plans to increase revenue, because we're in a competitive environment. So how are we going to bring in revenue into the town? And that's this side of the sheet is important with the cost side of the sheet. So folks, stay with us. We'll be right back.
Nice going, Spencer. I can't believe we broke Old Man Hennessy's window.
Correction, dude. You broke. I just threw the ball.
This is really bad. What are we gonna do?
We?
Let's go to the door, ask for the ball back. Are you serious?
It's my ball, Myrtleback.
You're so dead. I'd run away.
Yeah, to Uruguay.
Kiss your life goodbye. Sorry.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Remember me and your well.
Nice one. Some friends you are.
Keep smiling, keep shining.
Hi. Tell him it was an accident. And we can fix the window. Come on. I'll come with you.
Loyalty. Pass it on.
You go first.
A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
One day these rats were playing in the woods. Well, it's a matches and that's no good. Listen to smoke before you give it a try. Only you. Don't play with matches. Don't play with fire. Cause there's nothing very funny about nothing very nice on a homeless mind. So if a gorgeous force is what you desire, don't play with matches. Don't play with fire.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Fire.
Awkward. I'm the awkward silence. You try to avoid me, then there I am again. But an awkward silence can be a great thing, like Kelly here is about to demonstrate.
You haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health
at seizetheawkward.org.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Hi folks, Cesar here, back in Studio C with my very special guest and friend, Mr. Pradip Dhakal. He is the current town council member, also the only endorsed candidate by the Fairfax County Democratic Committee. Pradip, thanks for sticking around.
Thank you for having me.
So we talked about you, your family, your background, why you got into this. Let's talk about your vision, your plans for the town, future.
Absolutely, sure.
So.
I mean, Herndon needs a strong leadership at this time. So strong leadership it means somebody who understands how this growth is achieved in town, right? Obviously, the population will grow. The demographics is changing. And we are having a lot of development around the metro area, right? So we need somebody who is strongly advocates for affordable housing, workforce housing. Because if you don't do that, our workforce who provides a service, right? Our healthcare professionals, our teachers, our police force, right? Our retail store worker, grocery store worker, they will be compelled to live outside, not just the town of Herndon, but probably in West Virginia, right? These are the core service provider people we have to take care of. And obviously affordable housing, workforce housing is a big issue, is a regional issue, but there is much we can do as a town as well. Especially in the next 3, 4, 5 years, we're gonna have about $5,000 to $6,000 units built. This is the time to talk about affordable housing, workforce housing, and have at least 10 to 20% of those units secured for our workforce, right? We need leadership. We need people who not just talk the talk, but actually walk the walk, right? So that's something we have to work. That's something we have to work with the county. As a matter of fact, we've already started that discussion. And, I've had a great conversation with our Supervisor Jimmy Bierman. He's also excited about getting this done. So that's one thing, right? And then how do we make sure we have the representation, whether it's boards and commission, whether it's council, that is reflective of our changing demographics, right? How do we make sure we bring events in the town that is catered to the different background of the people, different, diversity of the people? Far too long, we have organized similar type of events for far too long that caters some, folks and some type of music. And I'm not against that. Great, let's keep it, but let's add on to that. Let's have some more festivals. That's the reason why we did Juneteenth. That's the reason why we did Kepasa. That's why we have, the Pride Festival. And now we're having the Multicultural Festival, so that we can, have the sense of belonging. People can feel that, we belong here, right? That's very important. That's important issue that needs to be worked. And for that, we need an important leader who can work with the council to make that happen.
Yeah, I love it. You're talking about becoming a regional destination.
Absolutely, absolutely. And now you were talking about, the tax revenues and everything. We have to make it a regional. That's why we have a rebranding effort right now. If our diversity is a brand, then we have to create events around that so people can come.
Right.
If our history is the brand, then we have to make sure we have to align our historic policy to make sure people are able to make the changes in their house so they can keep it look better, right? So that's another thing. If small businesses is our brand, then we have to have more small businesses coming to the town. Those vacant office spaces needs to be filled, and we have to work to build a policy that attracts more business to the town, right? So
it shouldn't take 2 or 3 years to open
it should not take 2. So we have to revamp some of our processes as well, so that it makes easier for people. It gets easier for people to apply for business licenses, start businesses in the town and all those things. That's why we have to constantly look into what we have and how we can improve from there.
So recently you championed and helped and supported the pickleball tournament, first one, right?
Yeah.
So that's bringing in a whole demographic of people, a whole new source of revenue. So it's things like that that make
and that's exactly, I want to again, point it back to the previous conversation we've had, is you have to look into what's changing and what's the demand, right? So pickleball is a demand. People are playing pickleball.
Right now.
Right now. And it has become kind of like, a sport that everybody loves and wants to gather around, right? So we have to leverage that. That's the reason why we pushed to convert some of the tennis court into pickleball court. And now if you go to the Herndon Community Center, you will see, group of people playing pickleball early in the morning, even late in the evening. So that's the demand you have to look into, and that's the public demand that you have to work for, right? You have to change.
That requires adapting.
That requires adapting.
You adapt to the market, here's the demand, and you capture some of it, because I don't know that people know how competitive the region is for dollars. Families, visitors, they only have so much disposable income, right? So where are they going to spend it? We want that part, and that's what you're talking about.
We have to make destination place. That's why, so people can come, do business in Herndon, do eat in Herndon, do work in Herndon, and do play in Herndon.
That's how we do it. In terms of some of the other challenges, Herndon's Metro opened, there's more traffic, you're constantly hearing of either pedestrian close calls or just aggressive driving. What's going on there? What can we do to?
Well, it's a regional issue. But again, we cannot just stay away from that, shy away from that, saying a regional issue. What, as a town government, we can do? We have to look into that, right? So that's why.
Because people want to feel safe.
People want to feel safe. So that's the reason why when we see, those issues with speeding issues or people, not stopping if there is no stop sign, right? So we have to look into, we have to put those into three different buckets, right? First is, how can you quickly fix? For example, if there is a speeding issue, can we put some speed bumps? Can we maybe make some elevated crosswalk with, white marking there so people can easily see that, very reflective one? Can we put stop signs? Can we put your speed sign, right? There are many things we can do which are more like, I call them low-hanging fruits, quick fixes. In a long term or medium term, we have to expand our sidewalks as well. Some of the sidewalks are abruptly ending in Herndon. Some of the sidewalks even have the electric pole in the middle, so it's not ADA compliant at all, right? So we have to look into that. Obviously, it costs money, right? To move a utility pole costs money. To move a utility underground costs money. So we have to strategically plan for that. We cannot leave everything for future council who will do this work 10, 20, 30 years from now. It's going to be that's cost of waiting is much more than cost of dealing with them now.
You're thinking like a corporate person. Like inaction costs something.
Exactly.
Delay of decision costs something.
Delay is much bigger than cost of doing things now.
So what would you say then for you going in, assuming you're victorious as mayor, what's the biggest challenge I think you're going to have to grapple with?
Well, I think first thing is the downtown redevelopment, right? I think we have to make sure that happens, but also we have to make sure the finances and look good in terms of town of Herndon. We do not give too much leverage, even though we've already given, right? At least, we have to protect ourselves, and we have to make sure that is done and done in a correct way so, Herndon can benefit from that. That's one of those. The other one is all those different, the growth and development opportunities we have around the Herndon metro area we call EDSTOC and TRG region. We have to make sure when these happen, like I said, we have to advocate and make sure 10, 15, 20%, depending upon where it is, we have to preserve those for affordable and workforce housing as well for our working people in Herndon.
I know this, you've spoken to the people that desperately need affordable housing?
I have.
I mean, that's just, to me, it's heart-wrenching to hear the conditions that they have to go through just to meet their monthly payments. So if there isn't affordable housing, where would those people live, right?
Exactly.
Unless they're provided for. So it's a big challenge. It's a regional challenge. It's a
But
national
we have
challenge.
to do our job.
Amen. Yeah. So let's quickly hear, because I'm getting the signal that there's some questions coming in. We'll leave the questions till the next segment. So you're going to stick around and answer some questions. In terms of just overall funding priorities, we talked about housing. We talked about some of the events. Anything that's out there that we're not thinking about now as a council, or something you'd like to do as a priority?
Well, so housing is a big issue. So we have to do what we can do from our end. You know, sidewalks is another big concern. Why I'm saying sidewalks and, you know, walking path and all of those is because you have to consider that population is changing. Population is increasing. We know that, and that's something nobody can control, right? But how do we make, and that creates traffic problem.
Sure, it's a safety
issues, safety issues, traffic issues, parking issues, right? So it may not be the same notion that we were running in 1980s and 1990s, right? Maybe one house cannot have 2 parking spots anymore, right? The new built houses, maybe they will not get that. So how do we make sure that people can still live in Herndon and still go to their work and make sure they can commute, right? And for that, we have to invest in our infrastructure, which is the sidewalks and bike path. Obviously is you know, NB, Northern Virginia Park Authority, but we have to make sure we have so many connectivity to the bike path as well. That way, when we make our town 100% walkable and bikeable, that's how we can proactively change people's behavior to minimize the number of cars they own, and maybe that way we can solve. We may not be completely solved, but at least we may be bringing some remedy to the traffic issues or parking issues, right? Because we do not have more land to expand the roads. We do not have more land to have more parking spaces either, right? So we have to work proactively there.
You're talking about proactively adapting the ordinances to fit the needs of the residents today and the future. What a concept. Okay, Mr. Dhakal is going to stick around for take some audience questions, and we hope you'll come back. Thanks.
So,
good job, man.
I just moved in with this family, and it's embarrassing. The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I was born and I knew how to use the litter box. Look at that. That's disgusting. Oh, poop already. You're making me nervous. Oh, okay, I can't look at this anymore. I really hope he grows out of this, for his sake.
So how was work?
It was 1,300 hours. My math class from 302 was in the trenches. Davy Roth had it the worst. Fractions were coming at him left and right. He just didn't get the damn things. 2 days ago, I tried to teach him what 1/4 of 1/2 was using different sizes of blocks. Yesterday, I tried again by dividing up pizza. Both missions failed.
Oh, no.
But today, I was ready. I created a combat math game where the only way to beat the enemy is to out-fraction them. Davy conquered every last denominator. My game was so successful, the principal is deploying it to math squadrons all over the school. Anywho, how was your day?
Oh, today my boss treated the office to salad wraps.
Salad wraps.
I know.
150 over 90.
180 over 111.
160 over 110. I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure looks like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from invisible or silent. If you've come off your treatment plan, get back on it, or talk with your doctor to create an exercise, diet, and medication plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
If I would have followed a treatment plan, I would not be in this situation.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again,
Folks, here, Studio C, my special guest, colleague, Mr. Pradip Dhakal, the only candidate endorsed by the Fairfax County Democratic Committee for mayor. Pradip, thanks for coming back. We have some questions. Bess from Herndon, do you anticipate any changes to Friday Night Live? This is still out there. Any changes?
I do not expect any change there. I do not know why sometimes I've heard that many times that, council is changing it, but no. At least the discussion that I have heard from the council, and also I can talk about myself, right? Friday Night Live is not changing. Friday Night Live is going great, is addressing, great crowd, good music. People come all over, Virginia, sometimes even outside Virginia to attend that. So it's going well. It will be a stupidity to change that or to remove that, right? So obviously Friday Night Live will continue. However, I've always advocated that we need more diversity. So we will work on that to maybe bring another, maybe in summertime, like Saturday night festival or something to cater the diversity of the music, right? We can bring R&B, we can bring hip hop, we can bring Bollywood, Latino, many different songs. So other people who may not be the patron of the rock music can also come and enjoy, so that we can bring more diversity.
And I'll own some of the confusion, because I wanted to ask if we could change the programming to expand it. Clearly people don't want to do that. Hence we got the Virginia Hispanic Chamber to help us with Que Pasa. So I think there'll be, like you said, more programs, more diverse representation of the
Absolutely, but Friday Night Live will stay.
Yep. So Mike from Herndon, why is the downtown Comstock project such a disaster? Let's rephrase that. Why is it a mess? How did it get so, I guess?
Well, yeah, there is a long waiting on the groundbreaking to happen. And obviously we all know that, but just for the record, right? First thing, it was slowed by the appeal. The second thing, it was again delayed by the pandemic. And then the cost of construction, lumber, etc., went, really skyrocketed. And then now the interest rate. We understand that. But having said that, now if somebody is saying why was that a mess, obviously, I mean, the contract, which was originally written and signed in 2017, I would say was not a great contract, because you did not have a milestone, like a fixed milestone set, schedule set, and also you did not have, look, again, bringing my corporate background, I do procurement, right? We procure, whether it's staff, other resources, and or contracting, right? There is always a bonus when you do a good job, right? And there is always a penalty if you do not deliver in time, right? Obviously, that kind of policy was not there, meaning, well, what if you do not deliver on time, whatever the deliverable is, right? There should be some penalty, right?
It's milestones,
so,
and remedies. Right?
And if you do not hit the milestone, what are the penalties for that? So that way, we can build more accountability around the contract, and which was clearly lacking. That's probably the reason why Comstock could easily come and say, okay, now the situation is not favorable, we want to wait for another 2 years, right? And then obviously we did not have a leverage to say no.
Yeah, and to put a finer point on it, Comstock is a for-profit entity that negotiated a contract to benefit them. We did not put in those requirements for dates, start dates, milestones, and deliveries. So
it's a negotiation. Contract is all about two parties negotiation. Comstock is not going to negotiate on the town of Herndon's behalf.
Correct.
We need to be asking that. We need to be negotiating that. We need to make sure the contract we put in place, has given us the leverage as well that we can ask, or we can demand, right? So obviously that contract heavily favored the contractor side.
Yeah. I'm going to skip the one email here. There is one. We answered that. Why aren't there any milestones in the contract? They weren't negotiated. What are you doing to bring more businesses and revenue into the town? We talked about that a little bit. What do you envision as?
Well, we have to look into our business policy, business licensing process. Opening the businesses. What are the different hurdles, right? The businesses have to go through, whether to open a business in Herndon or keep the business in Herndon, right? That's why even in our town council meetings, I was asking to do the exit survey, right? If any business leaves Herndon, then what is the reason, right? Is there anything we can do better? So from the business side, we have to again open our ordinance to see the processes, to see how can we again revamp the process? How can we make sure we change, adapt, right, the process to make sure it becomes easy for people to come and do business in Herndon, right? And that way, maybe we can expand on that. Maybe give some incentive to bring more businesses in the town. We do have a lot of vacant spaces at this time, right? So we have to be proactive in that to bring more businesses in the town. So when you bring businesses, that's how you actually expand your tax base, right? We are so heavily dependent on the real estate tax because we haven't, even though Herndon is great, we have good businesses, good diversity of businesses, I'm not denying that, but there is an opportunity to bring more businesses in town, and that way we can kind of like diversify our tax bases. And if you do that, that's the only way we can keep the real estate taxes low, or at least not increase in future too drastically, right? So we have to look into alternatives when it comes to tax basis.
Yeah, otherwise you're cutting services.
You're cutting services, or you are increasing real estate tax every year, which becomes unbearable for our residents, right? So that's not a good strategy either.
You're
we have
thinking
to look
like
into.
a corporate guy. No, I'll read this one. Why has your opponent, Mr. LeBlanc, remained in the election after losing the caucus? Let me give you my opinion, and then you can respond to it. But Mr. LeBlanc decided not to remove his name after losing the Democratic caucus primary that was put on by the Fairfax County Democratic Committee. That's his choice, but he signed a pledge to withdraw and support the winner. You both did. You both signed the pledge to do that. So he did not. He chose not to. Anything else you want to comment on that?
Well, I don't want to comment on behalf of Mr. LeBlanc because that's his choice.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that if I was the person not on the prevailing side, then I had made public announcement and pledges also that I would drop out. And at this time, I would not just have dropped out, but also have endorsed him and probably started knocking the doors for him, because that's was my plan.
Have you been endorsed by other Democratic elected officials? Yeah, I think you have, right?
Yes, I've been endorsed by Congressman Jerry Connolly. I've been endorsed by Drainsville District Supervisor Jimmy Bierman. I've also been endorsed by Delegate Irene Sheen, Senator Stella Pekarsky, Senator Suhas Subramaniam, Senator Saddam Salim, Delegate Karen Case-Gamara, a lot of people, in and around the town of Herndon have endorsed me, and I'm getting some more endorsement in a few days from now. I've received few endorsement from the Fairfax County School Board side as well. Member at large Kyle McDaniel and Ryan McKelvin has also endorsed my candidacy as a mayor.
Okay. And these are just coming in, so I'm reading them, I'm filtering some, but can you speak to your view on diversity regarding the Herndon Town Council and boards? Does that make sense? Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
like I said earlier, diversity matters, and the only way you can make a community stronger is when you actually leverage the diversity, right? There are diversity in opinion, diversity in voice, diversity of doing things, right? Different perspective. If you're not using that, then you're not building a cohesive, strong community. So that's why diversity matters. And now how do you make sure these diverse voices, diverse opinion and perspective are considered and are part of the decision-making, policy-making, is when those people are part of the decision-making body, which is the council, which is the boards and commissions, right? Herndon is a microcosm of the country. It's very diverse. And when that happens, obviously we have to make sure our boards, our commissions, our council, our staff reflects the community that we have. And I think we have work to do. We've made great progress. I'm proud of that progress. We've all done that. But I think there is a great work to do to make sure, the diversity in the town is well reflected, in our policy-making bodies as well.
Yeah, and it's hard the challenge for me is also, how do you get the qualified people and also have diversity, right? Is there a mentorship? Is there an apprenticeship? But you got to find the people. And you have to reach out to people. Well, right?
The diversity itself has become a political issue these days, which is absolutely unfortunate, right? Because to bring the diversity, to build the equity, to build the belongingness, you're not giving up quality, right? So the diversity or meritocracy can go together. There are people in the diverse community who are well educated, who are well equipped with the knowledge, who can bring the diverse ideas and perspectives and still serve, right? So, when we say diversity, we're not going with the substandard. We're still going with the standard. We have to understand that. People from different, group and community within Herndon, right, they all are good when it comes to their educational background, their experience, their perspective, but we haven't reached out and they haven't been part of that solution. They haven't been part of that decision-making, policy-making body, right? And we can always get good people from the diverse background to serve the council, the boards and commissions, and all those places. So,
love your vision, sir. Good luck to you, my friend.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me here.
And we'll see you either way, win or lose. We want you back here to talk a little bit more about your plans.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
And folks, thank you for joining us. We'll be back again, Cesar. See you soon.